Hey.
Hello. This is Ori here, and we have Alan on audio, and we're here with Alex K. Chen, multiple time show guest. He is quite a human specimen. He's the leading Quora questioner in the world, and he's like a super connector in the Bay Area and Boston communities.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just beginning to get to know you. So how's it going, Alex?
Fine.
And we're here to explore.
Okay. Yeah, I came here again for the Foresight Institute meeting, or what's the scene? Foresight. Annual November scene. Actually, the last three
Vision Weekend.
Vision Weekend, yeah. The last few times I've been lured to the Bay Area were exactly during the time that Foresight happened. So I'm appreciative for Foresight for that.
Great. Yeah. Great. Sweet. What else is present for you?
What else is present? A number of scenes, I suppose. I got my best sleep in a while here, but it also means that you're a little bit more knocked out than recently. I also am having another interview series with Andrew Zuckerman. He's from Harvard, and this is going to produce something interesting. Yes. You know Zuck?
Zuck.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, you met him. Yeah. That's such a line tech. I've been visiting Lighthouse, where
With Jeremy Nixon.
Yeah, and
in Palo Alto.
Yeah, and he and someone staying with him is actually going to create a new NLP-based startup where there's a lot of additional there's like a lot of recent progress in NLP, and they're like he and Sony are like merged into one person from what I heard, and it's like. Yeah, it's such an intensive experience because their internal world is like more exciting than the outside world. So it also like means that she cares less. She also her social life has shifted a lot ever since moving here. And let's see what else. Foresight Vision Weekend. I really appreciate getting to know a lot of the core community more, like June Yoon.
Right.
Yeah, and also seeing some of the transition as Christine holds on to the power to Alison Duetman, and she's training her well for the role. I think the Foresight so there's like a core group that the Foresight that attracts, which is a lot of the people who have just the right value system, in my opinion, because they actually care about the future and they know what's important. And they do bring in a number of people in addition to the core group. It's also so in terms of the group openness, I think this is like a lot of people say how movements like effective altruism bring in all the people they wish they could have grown up with or met years ago. This is also like one of those groups. A lot of the recurring audience that you see off Foresight is also the type of person who goes to EAG conferences. Though I think Foresight does have a valid system. But the people who come to Foresight do tend to they do have some people who are interested in topics like AI risk, but they also have people who are interested in more in longevity and also scientific and technological innovation, and also climate change and solutions to climate change. There are a lot of technical solutions discussed to climate change, which we're actually encouraging, like using olivine to weather all the CO2 away, or to accelerate the process of the weather. And I saw one of their reports where they talked about the Azola bloom, which was a case where massive amounts of carbon were sunk from the ocean. And I think this is so there is precedent for events where you do have massive amounts of CO2 sucked out of the atmosphere at one time. And it does give some more hope to to the scene. I think the other thing in which the Foresight could assemble a task force on might be something like nuclear fusion, where I'm also seeing.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Are you spiritually enlightened?
I generally have. There are some people who have pointers in the direction, but in general, I don't exactly have positive affect toward that term yet, unless it's qualified, unless it's heavily qualified. I'm not. I haven't transcended myself, and I wish I could, but I'm still somewhat trapped in certain fears and anxieties and neuroticisms that I haven't transcended yet, and maybe I don't feel like I always have agency over my energy levels or volition, and I think this is one of the primary factors holding me and other people back.
Wow. Got it.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. That was
yes.
okay. Yeah, that was quite a non sequitur.
Yeah. It was a sharp it was like a sharp move transition.
Okay.
But it was alive for me to ask you that.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay.
But is it okay for me to be slow and not totally sharp with Alex K. Chen?
Well, what's the value add?
That's what I'm navigating.
Okay. I mean, I think if you look at Jeremy's bookshelf, you'll see that he actually has like books on how religious people create their texts and how there is like he is interested in transcendence and there is definitely something emotionally powerful that goes on in the narratives of religious leaders or those who try to transcend the value systems of ordinary people, that people in the society seem to be a little bit overly affected by, which is oftentimes horribly affecting their emotional health and whatever sense of quote unquote meaningness they have of their lives, even though meaningness is such a it's not that in as much as it's that right now I think a lot of people are just right now it's just that
May I?
Yeah.
It seemed like when Ori asked you about spiritual enlightenment, there was something so alive that arose. It was so beautiful, this honest, true love that arose about trapped in certain fears, neuroticisms, energy levels.
Or like none. Or I think people have this ingenuous narratives about themselves that they form in order to come by, and they never really transcend their narratives that are disingenuous to themselves. But anyway, that's kind of besides the point. I think, there's something that appeals to people who create new universes out of fiction because. Or fiction, or through certain powerful narratives where they can't afford to achieve some sort of this kind of transcendence.
Yeah.
I can show some screenshots of those books later.
As a person who's in the heart of a whole social world, what's your relationship with enlightening people?
It depends on what enlightenment means. And I think that the extent to which people want to accept what enlightenment is, and it depends on how you define enlightenment too.
Well, because we're so connected, part of liberation and transcendence is dealing with our web of relationships and hierarchies, and that's part of our mind, and so that is to be addressed for us to really be transcendent.
I think that's just one definition of it. A lot of other people use transcendence to define transcending those webs and hierarchies and being able to make it alone and without being trapped within those webs and hierarchies.
Yeah.
Alex, have you felt deep states of non-separation and interconnectedness with all?
I'm not sure about deep states of that.
What's the most profound inner experience you've ever had in your life?
I have had experiences that felt profound, and then I later became dismissive of them simply because I wasn't mature enough at the time, and I still have some overly attached thoughts to certain beliefs, and then I don't know, my life is a little bit chaotic, so I tend to forget them quickly.
Have you taken psychedelic drugs?
Maybe, but I don't know. I tend not to like. I don't know. I don't exactly have the most positive, most generally positive experiences on them.
Do we have the wiring to become psychedelic?
Depends on what you mean by psychedelic. Depends on a lot of people. I think a lot of people have somewhat weird definitions of what psychedelic even means.
Yeah, I'm noticing as you share that our pace is changing, and I'm feeling sensitive to that. I almost feel like we've allowed for some heaviness to arise. Something fogging up our pace.
Heaviness, fogging up our pace. Yeah, my pace is fogged up right now. I'm not sure. Even though it's like anything with good sleep, I think something is not allowing me to freely access all the rich associations I normally have in my brain for whatever reason. Like ability to have perfect memory and recall of all the important influences in my life, which might be more easily prompted if I noted them down, which I intend to do at some time. But yeah, I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah. How would it be for us to probe into your emotional body?
Go ahead and do it.
All right.
I mean, past experiences have always missed the mark, but let's try.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Alex, for being open to that.
Yeah.
So, if you had to label with one emotion, what are you feeling right now? If you sense into
holy
it.
shit, this bruise. Anyways, one emotion. I think I'm always anxious.
One thing I get from you intuitively is like this like emotion of exhaustion. Only because we're slowing down enough for it to show.
Okay.
You know? When you showed up here, you're like standing tall and like King Alex. But because we were slowing down, I am getting this like, it's like this emotion of exhaustion.
Oh, I think somehow we forgot how to talk to each other, maybe.
And I'm curious about it.
I think there's definitely some things that I really would like to say, but I can't quite find the words how to say it. And something that integrates well with the general tapestry of the theme that I want to introduce.
Alex, why do you feel always anxious?
Oh, because oh shit.
Oh, whoops. Should I get a paper
Yeah, just get a paper towel.
You got it?
Got it.
Got tissues there?
Okay, it's not rational, I admit. It's just that I think
Did you, I got you.
yeah.
I'll clean this up.
Okay.
One moment. You're pretty good, right?
Yeah,
On
yeah.
stuff? Yeah.
I don't know,
Thanks,
so I need
Alan.
to wipe my thanks so much. I need to wipe my mouth too.
Yes.
I think I have a lot of FOMO, and because there are a lot of things I want to do before it's too late, and there are a lot of things that it's like I can't accept the pace at which time passes, and there's also the sense that I think a lot is being lost as the world moves, as a lot of aspects of the world do move way too fast, and it's like, I don't know. But it's mostly just time. I just have this massive time.
As you share,
Yeah.
I'm also tuning into like this deeper emotional nervous system.
Okay.
And another word, in addition to the exhaustion, is like a sense of, because of what you're sharing, like defeat.
Yeah. Yeah. That maybe some of that kind of exists, and then avoidance of that. It's avoidance of some of those things, maybe. I don't know if it's not like defeat, it's just like periodically. And also, it's just that I also have access to new social narratives. So, seeing this, right now, I'm noticing that as I get to interface with a lot more people, I am having access to new possibilities and new social narratives that I previously did not think were possible. And I feel like I have to rush through a certain type of social discovery before a lot of this is too late. Now, I think there is a certain kind of privilege that I have that maybe certain types of maybe super accomplished foresight people don't have, and that's youth. So I think in youth, and I know there is only one thing in the world that really matters, and it's your own health. Nothing. For instance, everyone, for example, the foresight, all the older people, they say if there's one thing you should go into depth for, it's for a biomarker study, or because they're starting a new. So I know some of the people in the foresight, they're starting a new study to basically track all of your biomarkers over time. So, and then to maybe do interventions to slow your aging rate. And I think this is something I really appreciate. This is something that desperately needs to be done. What's it called again? I have to look it up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, so one thing that I always pay attention to, so there are only two fields that really matter personally to me, and that's computation and biology, so thankfully I am a little bit more confident that, and I am a little bit more confident that the climate problem can be solved than it was before. So, although it's still like deeply important, but anyways,
as a guy who knows so much of the mechanics and science and details behind stuff like the climate problem, does Greta Martin inspire
what
you?
the hell? Do you mean Greta Thunberg?
Sorry, Greta Thunberg. Yeah.
She has something. She definitely has something that inside her. I mean, I'm not. She that somehow inspires media attention in the way it does it. I don't know. It's like what she's doing right now doesn't necessarily take a huge amount of skill, but she's the only one who does it anyways, which is some type of unique attribute that a lot of people appreciate. Even and she tells other generations that you're destroying our future to younger generations in a way that like somehow gets attention, even though say a lot of people can say it, but somehow she just says it in a way that makes media want to pay attention.
She's captivating.
To some people, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on a world level, in terms of traction and hearts being moved and touched.
Maybe.
There's something to her.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there could be a better speechwriter for her in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Some of the anxiety that Alex was talking about that arises when the world is moving at such a fast pace, the rate of change is moving, and accessing new social narratives given Alex's state of neuroplasticity at his young age is something that I also
Alex is... Am I supposed to share your age? Alex is... let's just say not the young one here between the three of us.
But given Alex's point, the point about your neuroplasticity is slowly degrading over time, and the access to the social narratives and the amount of impact that you can make at given the time that you have is something that, and his two things are computation and biology and health, so that if he can extend the amount of time that he has access to the social narratives, something important to him and foresight and many other organizations. So that anxiety is something to look at maybe deeper and understand more, and how to...
No, I appreciate foresight a lot, because people say that they have a lot of contrarians in them. And there are some really fucking smart people there, like Stephen Fox, for example. He had the presentation on Alzheimer's, and I think they also the thing about foresight is that it brings a community of people who are really really into science, so who are just so unattached to other structures, and they're independent. Like people like Christine Peterson is really independent. Stephen Fox is independent. It's just. And even then, they manage to produce a service that is useful to a lot of other scientists. Even though, like some people are a little bit critical of foresight. They say it's not very scientific or whatever, and it doesn't have, say, the total scientific legitimacy of the buck. It still attracts a certain type of funding, like some of the super influential, edgy people in the Bay Area continually go there, and they do have access to funds and connections and all that. And it's like, I wish they could just set up an online forum for themselves. I mean, I used to be part of online, but they still overly use Facebook, which makes them inaccessible to, like, say, newer people. And I wish Foresight maybe had a certain type of better outreach system, and maybe it doesn't pair well with outreach simply because its mission still doesn't necessarily fit in with a lot of a lot of say social missions that are driven by other people that are driven or commonly accepted by say mainstream movements. I know there's also
So they're ahead of their time. They're foresight.
that's one thing you could say. Yeah, they don't address a lot of social justice-y themes that a lot of other people that seem to draw a lot of attention. So on the other hand, neither does say Nature magazine or a lot of others like say scientifically driven organizations. And I think Foresight does tend to the topic Foresight covers. They tend to do touch on issues of social importance more so than say astronomy, even though astronomy also gets a lot of PR and funding and attention simply because it draws from so much of the excitement of science.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, also like a lot of young people aren't exactly trapped in structures that massively are adaptable to the neuroplasticity at the time that they're mostly just like before I visited Forest, I also visited like William Eden and his kids, the homeschooling people or the unschooling people. Like I got the chance to spend some time with his kids, and also I mean I got a chance to like interact with Brian Kaplan's kids at one point. I think there are certain, like right now, there are some people who are trying to form communities for maximizing the neuroplasticity of their kids in the Bay Area, so especially the unschooling type of people. But I'm just not sure. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
How about maximizing spiritual development of the kids?
I don't like. I think you could use the word more better. That doesn't have the baggage that spiritual contains. There's something that it happens in the. It's just. Yeah.
Spiritual, that word, and that energy can trigger people, and so it's not always skillful.
I don't think that's the main point. I think it's more that maybe go read something like David Chapman or something. I don't like the word spiritual. It's more
Mm-hmm. It's deadly.
and that's not the right word either.
How are you feeling now?
Not sure.
Do you think that emotional health can be the ultimate nootropic?
There are two different uses of the term. I mean, nootropics allow one to to achieve maximum emotional health, and I mean, there's only a certain amount of range that you can reach on your own, and I think a lot of people never reach it, even on nootropics. But but on the other hand, once you are at the peak of the range, some people seem to. I mean, there's a result between averages and maximums. In terms of averages, yes, that's only because so much of the population is in dire states, isn't significantly suboptimal states of emotional health. But once you reach the maximums, but averages and statistics only reflect a populations that are like severely subfunctional in some way or dimension. And if you want to reach the maxes that aren't biased by a dysfunctional population, then sometimes nootropics are the way to transcend the peaks that one can normally achieve by oneself. I mean, yes, I think having good emotional health for most people, having more emotional health can be more effective than a nootropic, simply because there's just so much more they can improve in terms of that emotional health.
And for this next world, should the leadership have emotional health?
Well, yes, for sure.
Why?
Because emotional health, it allows one to better align better align one's decisions, to make better informed decision making rather than impulsive, rash decision making that has wrecked a lot of past presidencies and a lot of other. For like leadership where people can trust leaders to actually make good decisions, you want your leaders to actually like have emotional health, and that takes a sort of confidence in one's own decisions, and even in the face of adversarial agents.
We're living in a very evolutionary period. In one sense, with all these kind of grounded in the world projects and thinking ideas and stuff, and then from another sense, evolutionary because of transformation. People feeling their emotions and taking psychedelics and things like that. And so which of the two, the grounded in the world work or the inner transformative flowering, which of the two will take us into the next world more powerfully?
For a lot of people, it is the inner transformative world. That's what certain Buddhists can achieve. That's what people who have achieved high internal states of Dharma would believe. Like if you look at quality computing, which is like one of the platforms that I actually have a lot of confidence in, they talk about people who achieve those internal self-transcendent states and make them super calm to other people, and even though oftentimes they don't map to the most effective people, like Ray Dalio, because somehow they also stop caring. They can accept anything that happens in the world, and then this somehow often saps their drive and energy. But anyways, it's more if the world around you if you accept the world around you is fucked up, sometimes you just go into modifying your own internal state of consciousness and have enough cognitive control to modify that, because that's significantly easier than modifying the world around you.
Does the true inner development become an outward focus?
For some people it can, for some people who have the proper epistemics, but I think the people who have true inner development and those who don't, and those who have power who don't necessarily have it, they don't interface very well with each other, because due to certain weird statistics of how and co-correlations of people who have them and people who don't. Like there's a certain type of very strong rarity to the types of people who seek power and those who achieve internal self-transcendence that inhibits them from interfacing with each other.
But the combination of the two, an empowered, flowered person, is what we need.
Yeah, that's true.
We need our hierarchies to, at the top, have a balanced ass person.
Sure, I also slightly object to the word hierarchies, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, communication channels could be made. The communication channels between the network of agents in the world can be massively improved, and there has to be some sacrifice in willing. And in order for this to happen, some people do need to sacrifice their own volition at times in order for this type of mass cooperation in order to happen. In order for this mass cooperation to happen, you kind of need like people to be able to map out what people are understanding and what people are, and also like maybe figure out what maybe some people have to like sacrifice their ability to maintain their ability to control their information input and at all times, because like sometimes people are not exactly doing the thing that makes them most effective for say a super cooperative society to smoothly run. But it's something that people seem not willing to do, so they often talk past each other.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a cool book on super cooperators that was written by someone who is tangential to say, I can look up that book later, but yeah.
What does this topic mean to you?
Super cooperators, or what topic?
Super cooperators and the discussion we're having.
Super cooperators, I think it's because there are differences in what people are talented and are most talented in doing, but the problem is that when you don't have multidimensional metrics, when I think people are also trying to constantly judge each other, and they have hierarchies where some people are established as more important than others, and there are some skills that are highly asymmetric in the population. So some people are just more valid than other people, and I think some people, they don't want to accept that. Some people say, and then there's also like money, which money and status are kind of correlated, but they're often orthogonal to each other. But anyways, a lot of the time people still want to say. And also the enjoyment. There's all like something known as enjoyment, and joy. And what people get joy out of also doesn't always necessarily map to what they most enjoy doing. Although there definitely is something where people do seek out like more. They don't want to be seen as. I don't know. I think there definitely has to be a way to more richly map dimensions of say quote unquote high status to the extent that it matters to people. Status is also a weird thing which is, I think a lot of status is like sexually motivated. Historically, people aren't aware of this, and I think until this is totally. But anyways, the point is, that I think the prospect of super cooperation is difficult when people are playing certain status games with each other, or games of winning with each other, where an allocation of resources can't be done because when people disagree over what to allocate their time or resources towards, and sometimes you have to acknowledge that some people are just better at allocating more at getting and allocating more resources than other people are, and I think there are disagreements over this, and to the point, and then people are not totally truthful with each other or willing to cooperate when they disagree over who should be allocated more, because especially when the allocation involves, say, allocating the time or attention or control of what other people are doing.
Okay.
Like, there's definitely a point where richer people rely on income inequality to motivate people to do things for them, and if this income inequality didn't exist, that motivation might not be as strong, which is why some people let's say aren't exactly some people just think more clear. Some people think that people who like have, let's say stronger vision or better decision making should be allocated a little bit more of the slice, because better things will happen if, say, they are allocated more. Except right now, of course, allocations are really just weird and they're not exactly in the place that they should be.
Got it. Well, when you're sharing all this,
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm attuning to
Okay.
all of your input
Okay.
and enriching my own energy field by integrating some of Alex K. Chen into my world so that I can be even more connected.
Likewise.
It's like Alex came here and he's slicing and dicing up this consciousness. He's doing his surgery on the simulation set just like everyone else. Adding his codes.
We had a comment earlier from Manny Diaz just saying, "Good job, guys." Thanks, Manny. Some of the other notes from earlier are inner engineering being paramount.
Inter-engineering?
Inner engineering.
Yeah, inner engineering. That's big people. Yeah.
But Alex, your points that you just had as well on hierarchies and money and status and power and motivation are also very interesting. Resource allocation to building the future.
Well, yeah, people don't think they have open discussion. Like, I wish Foresight people could be talking about this more with newer people, and there's definitely a disconnect between, say, Foresight people and yeah.
Any other comments?
I'm curious what an Alex Chen looks like when the anxiety is a little bit more healed.
Someone said that?
It just channeled through me. How do you feel about that, Alex?
Oh, that would be amazing if it could be healed.
Ori, how could we go about doing something like that?
Well,
I think part of it's body work. I know someone said they're willing to supervise me in some sort of psychedelic therapy. I mean, that could be done. It would have to be through like the right trip sitter. I don't know who would be at the moment.
Well, are you anxious right now?
Probably. I'm also anxious because I don't exactly have all the proper presets, or like I'm not as fluent as I am when I'm at my peak, and I'm not sure why I'm not exactly at my peak right now.
Yeah. And what are you feeling emotionally?
Emotionally, I'm actually feeling a little bit tense. Like, sometimes I wonder if my ability to think clearly is not what it would be, and I wonder if my ability to think clearly is, I don't know, I don't think most people are able to think fully clearly either, and I think a lot of it...
If I can pause you, What if this deep emotional body defeat / exhaustion / other things is stronger than anything else in reality?
Oh, that's actually possibly true. Gage Clark mentions a lot about it. It's something related to his dystrophin theory, and I think I used to be way too influenced by the narrative, even though it's fucking stupid. And actually, in fact, I think I hate myself a lot because a lot of people hate themselves because they subject themselves to such hierarchies, especially winner takes all hierarchies, or not like winner takes all hierarchies, but just, I mean, one thing good with internet fame or being on the internet is that people like attribute good high to you because of things you do on the internet. It doesn't take away. It isn't easily taken away. Like everything you post on the internet is not easily taken away in the same way that being defeated in the stupid status hierarchy makes it easily taken away. Like a lot, like I don't know, like getting a shitty GPA, for example, it can destroy your future in these stupid status hierarchies. But nothing can take away, let's say, your online output or everything you've output, even though you might be forgotten if you wrote a lot of unique online output, or if someone else somehow wrote everything you wrote and then better, in which case they'll be written instead of you, or you can be like made redundant if someone else kind of like. But I think there is an inner ability in the developmental story of a lot of people. Maybe not everyone will pay attention to it, but at least sufficiently. But at least, yeah, I think people should be like better at capturing what made them because that developmental process is not easily taken away. And I think there is something quote unquote beautiful in this process.
Great. I mean, look at your posture. Look how elegant.
It's not that elegant. I'm also a little bit in pain because of like these issues.
Neck issues?
Yeah.
A Big Red G comments, your diet and substances such as caffeine could affect your anxiety.
Sure, but yeah, I think I ate a little bit more too much fruit, maybe.
Yeah.
Thanks, Big Red G, for the comment.
Can I high five you?
Sure.
All right. Yeah, so what if like these heavy emotions that are inside all of us, not totally felt, not totally breathed through, processed, sat with, journaled about, what if they are the strongest players, whether we're aware of it or not, in manifestation? It's
possible in a lot of people, and I think it's like heavily social constructed. I mean, if they weren't, I'd probably blurt it out all the time or interrupting people all the time. I think there is an element and then like for example, I often flood forums and other websites if I'm not checked somehow. I mean, I did flood Quora and people loved me for it for some time until Quora became irrelevant for a lot of people, and I think Quora is irrelevant. My overinvestment in Quora burned me out heavily. Like, this is why I need my own platform, and this is actually people are telling me to get my own platform, and somehow I'm not doing it because of this burnout. Even though this own platform is something that is actually like really, really robust, is the most robust thing that I can form, and I think most people, in terms of maximizing their own relevance to long term to the world, developing their own platforms that they can't lose is the most robust form to achieve it.
Beautiful. Because now your platforms are basically like Quora, Harvard?
No, it's just I use Facebook a bit too much, even though I don't know, the amount of emotional attention I put on Facebook isn't that much, but yeah.
I'm interested in why Alex immediately went to healing the anxiety with psychedelic psychotherapy. There are many other modalities as well, like looking at these deepest parts of our emotions, like Ori has been describing.
Because some people say that they're the either way, or just the more guaranteed ways of looking into the inner emotional landscape. Of course, it's also just a social group around me that kind of like is around that, but it's also like I tend to have heavy skepticism of other methods because like they don't, because the ways that they've been tried at me haven't been effective. So it's just kind of like, I mean, I can also just say everything that's on my mind, but then I probably wouldn't want everything that's going on in my mind and anxiety is broadcasted live too.
Yeah. There's a skillfulness to being authentic.
A Big Red G asks, could you ask Alex about what he fears?
Ooh.
Losing neuroplasticity, losing adaptability, losing ability to adapt to the world, and just losing health. Having health is the most.
One time you shared with me in the past.
Yeah.
When we met a year ago, that the most important thing to you was to be and stay relevant. To be relevant. So what if you lost that?
You could actually be okay without that, theoretically. Like a lot of people, like Buddhist monks, a lot of like some Buddhist people who achieve the highest states of jhana or dharma or whatever, they're totally fine with being trapped in their own internal world. And sometimes some people they can meditate so powerfully that they can stop time or slow time down. You also see people like Romeo Stevens who meditate, who just really give the aura of not giving a fuck, and they're highly disagreeable, and they're a little bit off the rails, and I mean, he's such a clear thinker, but he's not super effective because he gives so little of a fuck that he just gives so little of a fuck that it weakens his ability to influence other people, even though he could, even though a lot of people like Quentin Friedrichs, who I really appreciate. I think one of the most exciting things that's happened a couple days ago was seeing all the progress Quentin has made with Quora, and I mean, Quora is about this internal self-transformation.
Yeah. Do you think that I could be like Romeo too, in that sense of being?
So I think it takes a certain kind of inner courage. It takes a sort of insane amount of cognitive control, and it takes I think cognitive control takes a lot of courage to do those types of internal self transformations, and this type of courage does depend on internal self control. Intense amount of cognitive control, which not everyone seems to have. Like some people say it maps highly to conscientiousness or courage to basically move thought structures in ways that are totally unattached. And I'm not sure what makes some people able to meditate so well while other people aren't. And it could be there are some things you could do, like get your diet totally right. I'm also self-tracking. I think continuous glucose monitoring or continuous monitoring of stress levels, and also heart variability monitoring, and maybe neurofeedback. But the type that works is a type to help people achieve those internal states without feeling so bound to like the rest of the world.
The ultimate high performance hack is to address our emotions and then address our web of relationships.
Sure.
What if the thing preventing us from being superhuman is the quote unquote matrix. You have what the laws, the subconscious agreements of what's real and what's possible.
Maybe something directionally what you said, but more elegantly phrased, could be is something directionally, but it depends on cooperative environments. And I think most people, they view the world as more antagonistic than it actually should be. I think a lot of it is because of those weird hierarchies. And I think people should perceive the world as friendlier to them than it is, but I think a lot of times people just don't have someone who can skillfully listen to them and who nudges them in the right directions, because most people do seem to be like linguistically deficient in
Well, why do you have to look at me when you say that?
Look at you. I think it's also because you tend to prime the conversation in certain ways, and I'm not right now at the most elegant either. So it's like, I'm not sure if I'm okay. I don't know.
Okay.
Some other summary points. What if the strongest emotions that are not integrated from our shadows are actually the strongest players among us? Maybe we need to address our emotions, then our web of relationships, and that this matrix is what limits our development or ego. Alex's fears of losing neuroplasticity, adaptability to the world, relevancy, losing health. We can use neurofeedback, HRV, glucose, and stress monitoring.
We need leadership that can, quote unquote, conquer with consciousness.
It's more like I think leadership that can conquer, that can encourage people to help people internally realize that they'll get what they want more if they can have complete emotional control over their internal selves. And if they have confidence that efforts made in that direction are cumulative, then so I think some people are anxious because they know something is wrong, and they know that usually anxiety is related to knowing something is wrong within you and maybe not accepting, and maybe but if they don't have the best epistemics of how things will evolve in the world, they'll always be anxious. And I think most people don't exactly have those best epistemics for whatever reason. And I think it's better to say have epistemics. But I think again, internal world versus the web of connections around you is such that like a lot of people, they need the validation from the external world in order to function well, and maybe they do. Maybe it's hard for a lot of people because there is a sense where changing the world around you sometimes is the only way to get to maintain. I don't know. Yeah.
How important do you think it is to manage and discern with our relationship web and dynamics and agreements?
Okay, so it's discerning. I think most people don't discern very well enough, especially because a lot of other people are not very clear about their long-term intentions or who they can trust the most, especially because people's models of social trust are, and how it will evolve over time are not the best. For example, friends who care about you might suddenly not may think that they might care about you in 5 to 10 years, but then stuff happens to them, and then they have to take care of their own shit. And once they they are forced to take care of their own shit,
because our relationships aren't just external, it's engineering our mental landscape and what's real. Mm-hmm. That's my experience.
Okay.
So I'm just saying something. So we need to clean up our webs. We need to garden our mind, quote unquote. And like you agreed, like we need to discern. How much do we care about our lives? How much do we actually want it to be pristine?
I love that metaphor of gardening our mind, engineering our mental landscape, our mental map, cleaning our web, discerning with our web.
Whose vibes will we allow as key nodes, influencers in the world with visions and missions and callings to honor? And is there some sort of truth or realness that we can all have a compass toward and meet at?
Compass to meet at?
Yeah. Can we shine and dust off certain inner compasses and be guided toward a meeting place and a next world?
It depends on which people you can trust to cooperate with you, and which people, like, I think, like, okay, so some of the things that you say, for example, are actually surprisingly elegant. There are other things you say that seem to be taken out of books of cliches. But you seem to like some things you say do seem to be overly cliche. But other things you say, like right now, I think this is not what our conversation isn't very fully formed, and both of us are saying a lot of things that are trying to reach at something, even though there's no structure to it, and because there's no structure to it, it's a little bit chaotic, and like some of it's coming from a confused place. Especially because you also sometimes touch on some themes that so there are a lot of things that can come from, say, books of koans where can still recite those meanings even if they have, let's say, no understanding of the rest of the world. Like that's the case of a lot of spiritual leaders. They can say a lot of things that sound elegant or deep or whatever, even though they're completely detached from any context, and but then if put in the proper context, maybe some of them have some meaning, even though they might be detached. They might be noise or bullshit in many other contexts. So I think I don't think our conversation is say book publishable because of the compute, but confused scenes that brought. Like, for example,
It's more exploratory.
well, yeah, like you sort of mentioned the Matrix, but I think it gives some meaning. But on the other hand, it's also something that's made cliche because a lot of people can refer to the Matrix even if they don't remember, even if they just don't remember, even if they say that just because it's just popularized. So anything that's heavily popularized can be easily thrown in as cliche, and then just decrease the signal to noise ratio.
Now, even if you become the truth, good, and beauty at the heart of cliche, you still have a world to navigate. You still have hearts to enter, and you still have skillfulness to own. And you have a web of nodes, of people, of influencers, of players to play with. And that becomes easier as we evolve together. We create more space for intelligence to flow through.
Sure, I think it's important for us to create that space, and I think it's horrible right now because I'm for example, hanging with Jeremy and Sonia. I really appreciate the world they enter with themselves, but they also don't exactly allow the rest of the world or other people to enter into their conversations. Which, I mean, and then it all being real life and such, it's easily forgotten, and because it's easily forgotten, maybe it's not praised in a way that can enter into the sort of high confidence transformation that maybe for all the cases where you use the word spiritual, I would like to use the word high confidence or high confidence / robustness, or high confidence / robustness / self-direction / malleability / adaptability.
Alan, what do we got? Noted.
Yeah, those are some great points. Just a couple thoughts from a Big Red G along the way. He's says Alex has a lot to say. Deep breaths, Alex. And then he said Alex is roasting Ori with a laughing face. And some points that was interesting what Alex was saying about needing to organize these conversations. That's kind of been one of the most important things about my spirit in the last couple months, is trying to organize and disseminate, synthesize all of these brilliant wisdoms that are coming from the shows and put it into some sort of cohesive, short content that is awakening and inspiring. And that's something that I'm extremely passionate about.
The conversation Jeremy and Jun Yoon had with each other, that should have been put in the show, because they were talking about, you mentioned how that you wish that can be captured. Gosh, yeah, they're really deep, for example, and
they come from first principles.
Yeah, they do come from first principles, and sometimes the first principles are I think sometimes people don't exactly have vision of the first principles other people they're using, or they don't have proper understanding of them. And I think that's like sometimes trying to understand first principles to people is somewhat. I don't know. I think oftentimes there is an ability to understand each other's first principles, in which case people get stymied. All the times when the first principles are just too much for other people, especially because sometimes there's comment. Anyways,
that might be the most important thing for what my role is in the planet, is helping people get to that first principles understanding of the world that we're all embedded in, and getting there through the synthesizing and disseminating of powerful awakening content.
Okay.
And that's why when you talk about the importance of this type of stuff being organized, all of our conversations are, in a sense, an hour plus conversations that are on different topics. They're organized to some extent, but you can really synthesize key points from them and add them to each other and make it into an even more cohesive narrative.
Well, they need to be structured.
It has to be. It has to be
structured rather than just more. just strong. But on the other hand, put it on the internet a way to make it easier to be structured so that you can reference your past thoughts, and even if you can't always do it, someone else can do it for you.
And that's what this role is to do it so that other people can see it and feel it and experience it and understand it. That way, then, the future, when people are talking from first principles, like you said, Alex, it's not going over people's heads. They actually get it, because they get what conversations are being had about those first principles. This is such an important piece of...
Yeah, I think a lot of people right now, for example, they talk to each other and they have these good conversations with each other, but none of it's like archived or put to the record in a way that allows other people to access those first principles, and this is why people still like they have to come to the Bay Area or the Boston in order to see those conversations when they could really just be put on the internet and then
Yes.
I really wish you could have seen the conversation that Jeremy and June had with each other yesterday. Gosh.
I'm really curious about that conversation. Angela's commented and said, I feel like you guys have a lot to offer. Keep growing, guys. It's very nice of you, Angela. Thank you.
Nice, Angela. Listen, I recognize all of these names.
Yeah.
Over and over
Big
again.
G.
Big Red G.
Who is Big Red G?
These are
just people who are always commenting. So thank you.
Oh, they've been commenting since the dawn of time.
When I'm behind the computer, we're able to monitor the comments on the live streams easier. We'll try it when I'm on the show and when Ori's back here in the
You
future.
should interview Max Grage sometime. He's cool.
One more time
You
on the
should
name?
Max Grage. Yeah.
Okay.
Masquerade.
I can't reiterate how important that first principles understanding of our reality is.
Can I high five you again?
Sure.
What should these are these conversations duels? What are they?
I mean, there are ways to access certain parts of myself, maybe, or just they're prompts. There's prompts that sometimes work and sometimes don't work, but maybe, but if I'm, say, mapping out how my time is optimally used, I mean, maybe they have an above background noise level chance of me saying something, of putting words in a way that can be more easily morphed into say a more timeless structure, or even not more timeless way to point out the real grand narrative of whatever I should be writing, of whatever I really should be writing to, say, the world or whatever.
Yep.
Even though some of the pointers are a bit weird, but that's experimentation. I mean, sometimes they also contain reference to cliches.
Mean?
Weird. So weird, I think, means not fully thought out. But there are so many definitions of weird. Like sometimes I say weird because they don't exactly come from well thought out first principles, or they might just be random, or they might come from overly noisy environments where you get overly attached to certain narratives that come from someone who hasn't completely thought those out, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's bullshit, but
we live in a society
that's
where
full of
weirdness can destroy you.
Okay, that was really random.
Random can mean weirdness too.
Yeah, I know.
Alex, you and Ori are both weird. You're both unique. And because of that, what happens is society can see that as beautiful gifts that you guys are bringing to the world. And it can also try and throw a bunch of pharmaceuticals and mental illnesses labels on you guys. And that's super important to discern.
And the thing that, if we're after a noble pursuit, the thing that will leave us standing.
Okay, I can tell that your thinking is very fragmented. I know your story. I know your story growing up, especially under certain circumstances. So you're thinking it's very fragmented, and sometimes that, I don't know. It's like I can see haven't other people like commented on it?
Fragmented means unintegrated.
Yeah, fragmented does mean integrated. I think like if you don't have the best memory, and a lot of people don't have the best memory, it means that their thinking is more fragmented than ever. Having the courage to face on fragmented thinking fragmented thinking might be like good, but some people just have better memory of.
Well, think about this. In addition to integrating our thinking, we also need to integrate our emotions.
Sure.
Some people can say that our thoughts come out of these undercurrents of emotions and moods.
Okay.
And so what needs to be integrated most? What about being a fully integrated embodiment of your soul?
Sure. Yeah, but I think that that means you should have better memory of who you are and what brought you into the way you are, and this means transferring some of your memory into formats other than your ROS pro neurons, because most people just have really shitty memories and their neurons aren't exactly optimal. That's why it's important to upload some of yourself onto non-biological substrates.
I mean, yeah.
I think you have to upload yourself into non-biological substrates in order to really be quote unquote transcendent, because otherwise your neurons will fail you. Because biology fucking sucks. And I think a lot of spiritually transcendent people, they don't recognize this enough because of their a lot of them do have correlates to being have correlates to being technophobic, even though I think if you are say at your most tightly integrated mentally and physically integrated self that you are, then
Amen.
What?
Amen. That spiritual people sometimes don't recognize the importance of science, uploading yourself into non-biological substrates because of technophobia. But also sometimes scientists and very non-spiritual people aren't tapped into the deep non-separation and interconnectedness of all things. And you're both on point also with talking about the importance of thinking, and where do the thoughts come? How do you make it so that it's at your peak? What are the undercurrents of emotions and moods, and how do we understand
who
those?
and what is the real agency, and how do we align with it?
Your real agency, it depends on, I mean, technically yourself, your own body, your own mind / body, because I mean, your perception is reality in your own mind, even though...
What's beyond that, Alex?
The world. Of course, your own ability to perceive reality does decline.
Where did you come from, Alex?
Is the whole... Oh.
Some people say the internet, some people say from outer space.
Nope. Mm-hmm. Where did you come from? Where did your parents come from? You came from your parents. Where did your parents come from? Their parents. Where did their parents come from? Their parents. And if you keep going back in the evolutionary lineage, do all things go to one source, Alex?
Not in any information-rich way. And it's rich in some. So there's. I mean, what you're talking about.
How do they not?
You're talking about genes and what the genes code for.
No. Nope. That's way down the line. I'm talking about, did all things come from one central source that scientists call the Big Bang, that spiritual people call God or creation or source?
I mean, sure. But
okay, so if that's the case, then what is your relationship to that?
I just perceive it.
What does that feel like?
to be able to integrate all the information that reaches me is like and how scientists have described it, like in all the universe and evolution biology books I've read, it feels intense and fascinating for a while. I think a lot of people they don't try to read into it as deeply as I do. That's why their world is just the world around them is just social reality rather than physical reality. Like they can't exactly explain the story of how they really came to be the way they are. I think a lot of people aren't super curious about it. I could put a highly condensed summary of what that is, or you could just read all the popular science books that exist. But
Alex, you said it right there about yourself. You said that your relationship to this source is that you are getting a process of integrating all of the information that reaches you.
Well, yeah, like who is a perfect integrator? Who is the ideal integrator of all conscious human experience?
Yeah, and to me, one of the people that's done a pretty decent job of that recently is Yuval Noah Harari with *Sapiens*.
Harari?
Yeah, and there are others that are working on that style of synthesizing the 100 billion humans that have
Harari. Harari. Yes,
have had conscious experiences before this in building this world that we live in.
Yeah, to the extent that conscious experiences matter and are relevant and say something that's meaningful to the world, that's above background, that's above the background signal rate.
Alex, the feeling that you have of this information that's reaching you, the feeling of that information, what does that information reaching you feel like?
It's wonderful for some time, but then then you think about other things, because if you think about the big picture all the time and not about how to command the future or how to better align the future to be what you want. A lot of the compressed information about how humanity came to be the way it is not going to influence, say, how it's not going to say.
Maybe stay with that feeling of goodness that you were first talking about regarding it. So what that feeling, continue with that feeling.
Okay.
Alex.
Okay.
That seems like your sweet point. Would you agree? When that information is hitting you and it's reaching you and you're feeling that information.
You know Jason Silva, right? In his videos.
Yeah,
Jason Silva integrates it super well. I'm not even integrate. He does integrate that kind of those shots of awe videos pretty well.
Yeah, we like him. So Alex, more on that feeling for you. Would you say that feeling is transcendent for you?
No, it's not. In fact, I have a lot of anxiety because I was unable to fully capture all of the processes of awe that have happened as I integrated all those feelings and thoughts over time, and because I lost a lot of the richness of that content as I experienced the growth of so many web services, as I experienced it from certain popular science books in my youth to the growth of the internet to the massive growth of the internet. I just didn't describe it in the most highest resolution way possible, and I think a lot of my anxiety comes from not being able to capture these feelings at the highest possible resolution, so that I can better summarize it to say a certain group of people who can get me more than say they can get other people who've also failed to fully integrate this feeling over time. Even though this is a unique development, even the growth.
Just bring your head to the mic a little closer.
Okay, yeah. Even the growth, you sometimes you get those huge feelings during the growth of very important platforms, like the growth of Wikipedia. When you thought that Wikipedia and Google and Quora and Reddit were taking over the world, and then there's some disillusionment that happens once they seem to have taken over the world, and then they seem to have stopped experiencing this sort of narrative growth. Actually, I think So what some people refer to as spiritual, I would rather refer to as narrative. Like this might be, like, say, more Jeremy than Sonia's viewpoint, simply because the word spiritual is just so much baggage attached to it, and that I and many others are totally super averse to the term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also, I think one of the other scenes from Forfeit is I got to meet Jacob Cole again, and he's like someone I totally want to integrate more with, even though he's like such a positive influence on everyone around him, and I think this makes him super integrated within the web that he's in. Of course, the web that he's in is also like, even though, you know, people say that he's also happy to see you, which is so great, even though he doesn't have all the time in the world, which is tragic. He's also like very spiritually free, and also the web, he can afford to be integrated in the web that he's in because it's made of such high quality people. Like his social network is like people in the Bay, people who are really technological oriented, and I think he does integrate a lot more of, like, one of the books he strongly recommends me is what yoga is about, and he's actually one of the people who's most open about this.
Did you just say what yoga is about?
Yeah,
yoga is Sanskrit for union. Union with source.
Yeah, and he's not. And the way he phrased the scene is that even if he's a little bit into New Age stuff, he doesn't describe it in a bullshit way because he's just so smart. And he's also like so, like his sites on TK.net, they're also like they're just like so refreshingly close to the source. But even like yeah, it's hard to get to know his thought process because he is a little bit really fragmented among all the other people he knows. But yeah, it's just all the people he hangs out with are just so wholesome, and they have such the right value system, even though they're, and he gets funding from people like Tim Draper and a lot of other people. Even though his thought stream platform isn't as widely adopted as it could be. I just tried taking notes with a new iPhone on his thought stream platform, and it's a little bit hard to integrate like whole fulsome notes. But yeah, I think people who, but yeah, it's like knowing people like him is just so important, basically.
This has been a very fascinating conversation, you two. I've loved it. Thanks everyone for watching. We have a decent amount of concurrent viewers. We love you guys. Show wouldn't happen without people who care about supporting us. We're very, very grateful for you.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a show that's
Should we wrap,
coming
Alex?
up.
Sure.
Just a heads up for everyone too that we have a show that's coming up at probably will start closer to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Another thing that just generalists for specialists, and specialists often for fragmented attention, and generalists also fragmented attention. There's only a finite amount of time that people have in the world, so you have to figure out the choice in life is to how to optimally, because you only have a certain amount of attention frame per unit of time. How do you optimally allocate your attentional frame towards things that you'll remember better, and that will also feedback loop into you being the most effective person you can. And then there's a big question you have to make between being a generalist versus being a specialist. And people who are generalists are probably like more integrated within the general, but more probably integrated within the broader social web than specialists. But you can't have everyone being a generalist. And people and people who are specialists, oftentimes they sometimes there's a question of like maybe there's a neurosubstrate scene of whether or not specialists can be wholesome and still perform their tasks as well if they're not paying attention to the big picture all the time, and sometimes there's like a bit of anxiety, and and some people, like some people can be specialists without anxiety, other people they can't be specialists without this kind of anxiety unless they can be confident that everything will be fine as long the world around them will be fine as long as they keep doing what they do, which a lot of people can't be.
You only get 30,000 days to live if you live until you're about 82. 10,000 of them you're going to spend sleeping. So out of those last 20,000 days, what are you going to do with your life? How are you going to give your attention to what in your life? All right. Ori, do you want to wrap?
Yeah.
Do you guys have other thoughts that you want to do before you wrap?
Do we?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for being here for me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Aw. Thanks for joining us on
Thanks
the
for
show.
joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And thank you, Alan, for creating this whole thing.
So what time is it?
12:30.
12:30, so the person as a 1?
Yeah, but they're coming at 1, and then I can just give that bit. Or if you want to say some things, then I can close with telling people.
Thank you to our viewers.
Yes.
And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching. We really appreciate it. Thanks, Ori. Thanks, Alex. That was a great show. And for those that are watching right now, we will have another show coming up in about a little over an hour, maybe around 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will be going live with Jeff Clavier from Uncork Capital. Really looking forward to that show. So do tune into that. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below on this episode, please, guys. We'd love to hear from you about this episode. There was a lot of incredible stuff that was communicated. So let us know your thoughts. Check out the links in the bio below to Alex, his profile page on Quora. All of our previous interviews with Alex are down there. His Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook links. Also check out Ori's link down there as well, oriholdingspace.com. Check out that link and support the artists, the entrepreneurs, the spiritual leaders, the organizations that you believe in around the world. Support them and help them grow. You can find all of our links below to Simulation below. Check those out and support us. Go and build the future, everyone. Manifest your dreams into the world. We love you very much. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Peace.
Peace.
Do you know if YouTube Live